You can never trust anyone, said the moron. Yeah, because only a moron would say something so foolish. Oh, absolutely. See, this notion that you can trust no one, it's foolish for the following reason. You see, our lives as human beings depend on trust all the time. We trust one another multiple times per day. And this trust, this implicit trust that we give one another, it's very simple to understand. Once you understand what creates trust, what creates that bond of trust between two people, then you are able to use trust to your advantage. Use trust in the sense of aligning yourself with people whom you can depend on. Let me explain. Suppose you're walking down the street. You're walking on the sidewalk, right? And you get to the intersection and you want to cross it. You want to cross the street and there's like a zebra right ahead of you, right? And so you look both ways and you start to cross. And then all of a sudden, a car comes, right? And what do? Well, you don't do anything. You keep on crossing the street. Why? Well, because you trust that the car that's coming on the street, right, is not going to mow you down. In point of fact, you trust that that car is going to stop. That it's going to stop and allow you to get to the other side of the street. And you're not going to have to hurry. You're not going to have to run out of the way. No. The car is going to stop. You trust that. And what happens? Lo and behold, the car stops. Yeah, isn't that crazy? Yeah, the car stops every time. Another example. Suppose you go to the McDonald's, right? And you want to get a Big Mac meal, right? You go to the McDonald's at the counter and you say to the girl behind the counter dressed up in the McDonald's uniform, she says, hello, sir, how can I help you? And you say, yes, hello there. Can I get a Big Mac meal? And you slide her $5, right? What do you think is going to happen? What's going on there? Well, you trust that she's going to take your money and give you your food, right? But the fact of the matter is, she takes your money, she puts it in the cash register, and during those seconds, nothing's going on, right? I mean, where's the food? Can I trust her? Is she cheating on me? Is she stealing my money? Of course not. She's not cheating on you. She's not stealing your money or shit like that. She's simply taking your money, and you trust that in the next minute or so, she will come back to you with a little baggie with your meal, right? And lo and behold, what happens? Well, she does so. She brings you your meal. And this proves that we, human beings, trust one another implicitly all the time. Why? Because we understand each other's motivation. We understand the motivation behind each other's actions. I mean, we're practically goddamn psychic in that regard. Think about it. Insofar as the driver of the car, as you're crossing the street, right? What's his motivation? It's not so much that he values your life, right? No, it's more that he's concerned about his own life. I.e., he recognizes that if he mows you down as you're crossing the street at the zebra, right, he's going to go to jail, right? He's going to get into a shitload of trouble. So it's not worth the effort, right? That's his motivation. I'm putting it as dark a spin as possible. And insofar as the girl at the McDonald's, what's her motivation? Well, her motivation is to keep her job that pays her a salary and therefore do the things that are required of this job. That's her motivation. And what's required of this job? To take your money, put it in the cash register, turn around, go and get your meal and hand it to you. That's her motivation. And because you understand implicitly the motivation of both the driver and the girl at the McDonald's, you have no trouble trusting them. You see the point? It's a very important point. Once you understand somebody's motivation, you can trust them. And what does trust mean? Trust means that you are able to anticipate what somebody's going to do and trust in the fact that they are going to do what you expect them or want them to do. Suppose you're dating some girl and she's very attractive, very smart, very funny, right? And she tells you and she acts in a way that's clear that what she wants out of life is to have a good time, right? That's her motivation. Can you trust her? That's the wrong question. That's not the question. The question is, can you trust her in the sense that will she be loyal to you? And the answer is no, of course not. Of course she's not going to be loyal to you. Why? Because she has told you her motivation, or it's become clear to you what her motivation is. Her motivation is to have a good time. And she's with you now, so long as you're having a good time. But the second it's no longer fun for her, she's going to leave you. Or if she finds some other guy that gives her a better time than the time you give her, she's going to leave you for him, or at least cheat on you with him. You see my point? But what happens with the same girl, and she makes it clear to you that her motivation is to have several children and build a strong, happy family? That's her motivation. That's the thing that she wants. That's the thing that's driving her. What do you think is going to happen with such a woman? Can you trust her? Again, that's the wrong question. The question is, will she betray you? Answer is no. Why not? Because she's not going to risk it. She's not going to risk destroying a relationship and a family, the family that she wants, over some passing fancy. You see my point? Just like the driver who sees the pedestrian, and he's not going to run over the pedestrian because it's just going to ruin his life. Same with a woman whose motivation is to have a family and to be happy and have a bunch of children and build a nice nest for these children, right? She's not going to betray you because it would destroy that which she wants. Now, I'm just giving you hypothetical examples here, but see, understanding people's motivation is key to trust. You have to look into what people say that they want and look at the actions that people carry out to ensure that what they say, what they want, is what they actually want. See? See, because a woman can say all she wants, that she wants like, a bunch of children and a happy home life and all the rest of it. But if she's partying every fucking night, right, and getting drunk or wasted or whatever the hell, then obviously, her words and her deeds are a total mismatch. You pay attention to the deeds, of course. But you see what I'm driving at. The notion that you cannot trust somebody depends on you understanding their motivation. And more to the point, you can trust people if your motivation and their motivation align. Let me give you another example. Say you've got a business partner, right? A business partner, and you guys have known each other for years, right? And you decide to go into business to build, you want to build a new airplane, right? You want to, fuck Airbus, fuck Boeing, we're going to build our own airplane, right? Right. And you're going to build an airplane and you're going to sell it to the big airlines and all the rest of it, right? And you work really, really hard at it. Now, can you trust your partner? Well, if you know your partner well enough that you know without question his motivation, and you know that his motivation is to build the best airplane possible, then of course you can trust him. Yes, absolutely. But if you know your partner and you realize, say, for example, and this is hypothetical, that he really loves just shooting up heroin, right? I mean, he wants to build an airplane. Yeah, he talks about building an airplane company and all the rest of it, but, he spends all his days really just shooting up heroin, Yeah, well, can you trust him to do this airplane company or whatever? No, obviously not, because his real motivation is heroin, not building the best airplane possible. You see what I'm saying? It always amuses me how so many young guys ignore novels. They don't read novels. They don't read the classic novels, the great 19th century novels by, like, for instance, Dostoevsky, Dickens, Tolstoy, Balzac. See, those great 19th century novels, they're not action-packed. No, but that's not the point of them. The point of them is to understand people's motivations, the motivations of the characters. See? That was the point of them. That's why people read them, or still read them. See? Because you read these novels and you start to appreciate the hidden motivations of people and how a lot of times their actions reveal their true motivation, irrespective of what they're saying. To give you a very simple example, there's Pride and Prejudice, the novel by Jane Austen, right? And you look at it at first glance, and you figure, it's a fucking chick book, right? Chick lit about, some crazy women who want to get married at all costs, right? But you read it and you start to realize that the true story of Pride and Prejudice is that, these women, these young women, there are 4 of them. And their father, once he passes away, they are going to lose their income. They will become homeless once their father passes away. And so these young women realize that they have to find a good husband, not necessarily a rich husband, just a good enough husband, or else they will become homeless. That's their motivation. That's what's driving them. You see? And that's why the novel is so good, because it teaches you, the reader, about human motivation and how people do things not because they are bad people, but because they have strong motives to do it. And if you understand those motives, then you can anticipate them. You can get there before they do, and potentially head off a problem before it arises. Now, why am I talking about this issue of trust? Well, because see, a lot of guys say you can't trust women. You can't trust women. And I want to bitch slap them whenever they say that. I mean, I really do. I just like pull back on the pim pam and smack them. Because when you say, you can't trust women, that's basically saying, I don't understand what drives people. I don't understand what motivates people. That's what they're really saying. See? Because you see, a woman or a man or any person of any age, see, you cannot trust them if you don't know what's driving them. But if you understand what's driving them, then you can trust them. Because trust, after all, means knowing what somebody is going to do before they do it. Knowing what they are going to do implicitly. You see? That's the issue of trust. And so when guys say, oh, you can't trust women, it's so frustrating because, see, all they have to do is pay attention to the motivation of people. But they don't. Why don't they pay attention to the motivation of people? Because they're fucking self-centered. They're self-centered, they're childish. Because only children pay attention to themselves and not to the wider world. That's the great difference between an adult and a child. A child is only paying attention to their own impulses, to their own whims and desires, and looks around at the adults and just doesn't understand what they're doing and just looks at them as if they're just these capricious beings acting out of no reason at all, just randomly acting and doing things, see? When a man, let me rephrase that, when an adult person, a person who is in their 20s, 30s, 40s, says, oh, you can't trust women, what they're basically revealing is that they believe that they are children and that the world revolves around them, and that the adults, the other people, the other independent agents going around them are acting for capricious, obscure reasons. And they make no effort to understand those reasons. Don't be like that. Do not be like that. See, the first thing you want to do whenever you meet somebody or whenever you realize that a relationship you have with somebody might become deeper, the first thing you want to understand is what drives them. What is their motivator? What are they aiming for? You figure that out first. That's the first thing you want to do. What drives them? What makes them tick? You understand what makes them tick, and you'll be able to anticipate them. You'll be able to trust them. Just like when you're crossing the street and you trust that the car is not going to run you over, same thing. Same exact thing. You'll know that the guy is not going to run you over if you understand his motivation. Or, more to the point, if you understand his motivation, you'll be able to figure out whether you can just safely cross the street or you better just wait at the sidewalk. You see what I'm saying? The greatest bonds of trust arise between 2 people or more who want the same thing. And this is key. See, if 2 people want a subjective feeling, then they're never really going to be able to trust one another. Because if you want a subjective feeling, like say for instance, you want to be happy together. You, a man, with a woman. You want to be together with a woman and be quote unquote happy. Well, the problem with that is that, see, happiness is different for each person. Now, isn't it? What you might find very enjoyable, she might hate, and vice versa, right? And what you find very important, she might decide is trivial, and again, vice versa. And it could be that one day she is no longer happy and therefore decides to leave you. And all the years and effort that you spent living with this woman, well, they're all for naught. You see what I'm saying? But if rather than a subjective state, you and the woman you're with are aiming for a common project, a vision that you both share, and things become very different then. If you both have a common vision, a common goal, a common champagne room, then you're going to have something. If you and a woman share a common vision, or more accurately, if you and the woman you're with develop a common vision, a common goal, and you keep reiterating it, talking about it, repeating it to one another, that you have a specific goal. You have a goal of, say, having 3, 4, 5 children together and building a happy, loving home for them and making sacrifices, the both of you, for the welfare of these children, for the welfare of this family that you're building. If you have that common goal, and more importantly, reiterate it to one another constantly, so that both of you are very aware as to what you are driving for. If you have that common goal, what will happen is that the woman you are with will trust you and you will be able to trust her. Because if you share a common vision, when she's not around, when she's off doing whatever, you will trust that she is striving towards that common vision. And the same will happen with you. Trust is supremely important in any human relationship, but most especially in the closest relationships. And you cannot trust somebody if what you want, what you both want, the shared goal, the common goal, is a subjective feeling. Because a subjective feeling will betray you. It's fickle. But if you have an objective vision, something specific in mind, and you both share it with one another, and you both talk to one another about it, and agree, what will happen is that all of your efforts will go towards that, and you will feel enormous satisfaction because you will feel that you are striving towards a great goal, but you have an actual partner. It's not that you're going to, be with somebody who's like a roommate. No. It'll be a partnership. And her joys will be your joys, just as your joys and triumphs will be hers, and it will be something shared. But you have to have that common vision that is driving both of you, that is motivating both of you. You see, I feel very, very dissatisfied with this video. This is the second fucking time I've done this goddamn video, right? And the first draft sucked. And I feel that I'm missing on what I'm trying to say. And okay, let me just fucking finish this. Okay, see, you can trust a woman. You can trust her completely. Just as you can trust anybody on the face of this earth. But the only way to trust them is to understand their motivations. The only way to trust them is to not only understand their motivation, insofar as a woman is concerned, the woman in your life, you have to share the motivation. And if you have this vision of a family with, some kids and a nice home and a loving, cozy family, if that's your vision and that's her vision, then of course you can trust her. You can trust her with everything that you own. And you can trust her with your heart and everything. If you share that common motivation. But if the motivation is subjective, if it's just happiness, if it's just, living life and enjoying the moment, you only live once, well, that's a recipe for disaster.